It seemed that everywhere he went, people kept giving him more to carry and chastising him for moving too slowly. Perhaps they would have been less critical if he hadn't done such a remarkable job of disguising his burdens by burying them in his pack, far out of sight. While others bore their encumbrances out in front of them, shouting as they walked for crowds to clear a path or seeking assistance with their packages, he tried to keep off to the side, hunching under the constant weight. At the top of his pack were the things he needed to examine the most often and handle regularly. His bills, work, and regular chores were always within easy reach. They didn't weigh too much, which kept them from sinking to the bottom, but if he didn't handle them regularly, they would pile up and make things worse. The pressure of keeping his face clean-shaven for the boss, his workspace and clothing tidy, his lawn trimmed neatly, and his rent paid up, nagged constantly at the back of his neck. Just below the surface layers of his crowded pack were his cell phone and tablet. In some ways, these devices lightened his load, especially compared to the bulky books his grandfather carried, but they brought new burdens with them. His pack was always buzzing, beeping, and vibrating with alerts, more of which seemed to be negative lately. The excitement those buzzes evoked in his youth turned into anxiety in his adulthood. Instagram pictures of beautiful people made him feel inferior. His conspiracy theorist uncle filled his news feed with frustrating ignorance. Most of his family and friends posted lopsided, biased, politically charged bullshit without bothering to read much past the headlines, let alone to fact-check their memes and propaganda before spreading them. He found it all so exhausting, even when he didn't engage with it. News of his mentally ill grandmother and his physically ill grandfather made him regret his conditioning to rely on social media to enjoy and share so many of the good things in life that he needed to so regularly endure such negativity. In a side pouch of his bag, he hid insulin and trail mix beside a small device for checking his blood sugar levels. Many who considered him a friend didn't know he was diabetic because he went out of his way to conceal his condition, and many diseases are disturbingly invisible. Buried deeper still and weighing more was this ongoing pressure to provide for his family and the guilt associated with both success and failure thereof. If he didn't work enough, he felt the guilt of his family desiring beyond what he could provide them. When he did work enough to sate such pressures of their desires, he felt the guilt of spending too much time with his job and not enough with them. The pressures of his family mixed with the most dense items that sunk to the very bottom of his pack, making it sag below his hips. They urged the straps to bite into the skin of his shoulders, causing hidden scars beneath his shirt. These bulky items at the bottom were the pressures he put on himself. His doubts, insecurities, and depression, both caused and exacerbated by the other contents stacked on top of them. He was a single father, and a flawed man who was just as susceptible to anger, frustration, and emotional injuries as everyone else on the street. He just worked harder than most to conceal his vulnerability and his pain. He made fewer excuses for them, which led to them boiling under the stoic surface. He didn't want to burden others with his heavy load, and as a result, he seemed to have his hands free to those who didn't bother to hide their cargo in bags. It meant that when he made an effort to help them, he was less capable than they assumed, and when he insisted he was unable to help, without expressing how overloaded he already was, people considered him selfish, lazy, and rude, adding that much more to the weight at the bottom of his pack.